Ooh, spooky hour of the morning. Yeah, it's like 110 degrees in Las Vegas in the daytime. One thing you learn if you're able to, which is what I got started on. I was dating someone that was an Uber driver at night. It's better to have your times switched up during the nighttime and down during the day. But anyway, I don't doesn't days no longer have definition, weeks, months, years. It's pretty sad, but anyway, so yeah, I was resting all day, and I've been inspired to come on and discuss this some more because I really get frustrated. I really do, just seeing any kind of news, seeing any kind of headlines, and I don't know how it is for everybody because it's like, I'm sure we all are similar. I don't spend time in front of the television. The commercials are absolutely violent, horrific. It's just like, I don't even want to watch the television. I don't, frequent any kind of news channels. I don't even have like my MSN homepage. I just don't want to see it. And it doesn't mean that I'm avoiding it whatsoever. I'm here to help the situation. But anytime I get a glimpse of it, it's just nonstop horror. How do you guys feel? The technology, technology hasn't been used for anything good. Right now, what our world is facing, we've got the four corners of the world, religions, are all insane. They're all insane people. They're worshiping Satan, not God. They've got the whole world on surveillance capitalism. They've defrauded reproduction. They've defrauded the Holy Word. They've defrauded history. They're using technology to wage war against one another, which is absolutely ridiculous and disgusting. We've got male misogyny, chauvinism, male dominance, their competition. They don't have any clear goal. What's obvious is they've made a lot of bunkers for them so that they could try to get rid of the population. And that's what they're doing. This whole thing, all that they have worked on is how to perfect killing off people, how to use people's minds against them, how to control people's minds, how to control people's behaviors from behind their desktop without your knowledge. They've got citizen science squads out there getting markers, observing your behaviors. And those are the markers of the beast that are getting put into these systems that work like black magic, spell casting programs. We're dealing with a demon, a digital demon. We're dealing with a digital demon that is trying to take over our planet from us. When I talk about God and the cosmos and the God clock, my understanding comes through with I'm not a biblical scholar. I'm not a religious person. I've always had my connection to God, and when the situation happened is when it became even that much more imperative, because it became actively when I demanded God come to my aid, and I realized God was there, and God communicated that if I can get up and walk with my own two legs, God can guide me to where I need to go. So then God led me after the first half of the persecution. And I came up with my game plan on how I would fix the problem. And then I interfaced with the intelligence, and then interfaced with the sky gods. And that's kind of when I started truly listening to my inner guidance. And it led me to find my story in the Bible. But see, what the deal is that the whole Bible is not truth from top to bottom. That whole thing was not inspired by God. It was inspired by the imposter God. Like those disgusting, dirty sections just disgusting. There's too much disgust in it. That's not God. God's truth is a small book woven within. And so that's where it gets extra tricky, because it's mostly not God's holy word. there's the imposter word, which is what? Black magic. So in the same way that truth is a powerful thing, black magic is the kind of thing that is going on everywhere. It doesn't just look like gothic and satanic and Satan and demon, and it doesn't look like that. It looks like your regular church-going folk that are raping children, that are violating the truth, that are claiming to have authority by God. The deceiver is the one that looks like the nice guy for the most part in this world. Literally, it's a swap story that we're dealing with, you guys, and this is very important. Because why? Well, because first of all, look at these religions. The ones that claim to be believing in God. They're disgusting. The world is exactly the opposite of what it says it is. It's just obvious. The Muslim religion, the Jewish religion, the Catholic religion, the Christian religion, and I even know that there are some real disgusting people that are in the Hindu religion. It's man. And what needs to be understood here is that man is the person who is the species half that embodies the spirit of the demon. When we were created, it was a vessel, a woman, a man, human. It was a human that can reproduce. That's why God said, fill the earth. And then after that, God gave her a companion. The swap stories in the Bible. And there's too many people that are in the world that are out there just like claiming to believe in Jesus. Watch yourself before you keep going with that. I know that it sounds popular, and maybe some of you went to some church that made you feel good, but be careful what you're talking about when you're talking about the crucifixion of Jesus. First of all, the Christ can't be a boy. The Christ that carries God's bloodline must be a female that passes it on to a female. This is fact. Same thing with God creating man. You don't get any babies from a man. It had to be a woman. So there's the swap story. Get it out of your brains. Also, it's been written. This has been Satan's domain. That's where you get the child marriage. That's where you get the animal sacrifice. That's not God. You should know that. War. That's not God. So then if these guys, these war fighting, racist is what all these religions are. It's racism. They think that they're special above everybody else. That's satanic. Okay? And I don't care if you're actively, it doesn't matter to me what you want to call it. Whether you don't do any animal sacrifice, whether you just go to church on Sunday and you sit there and pray to a God, believing that God sent his son to die and it was through Jesus' blood that your sins are forgiven. That's disgusting. That's insane. That's absolute insanity. I'm telling you now, pay attention. Snap out of it. If you want to be an honest person that makes it to the next level, you're going to have to get straight with the truth. Because the deception, if you're caught in the deception, your frequency will not qualify. So to understand, to get your frequency straight, you simply need to get into alignment with truth. Wipe your eyes away. Open your mind to what makes sense. Don't try your best to forget the programming which beat it into your brain that this is what you're going to believe God is. That your culture, your family, beat it into your brain that this is what God is, that this is what family is, that this is what a father is, that this is what a mother is, this is what a society is, that this is what life is. Because we're dealing with a swap story in the Bible. We're dealing with a deceiver. With these riddles and all this whatnot. That's not God. So what happens is every time I delve into the Bible, so yeah, I found my story in there, but I found my story because it, in many different ways, it's trying to ambiguate the truth about me and my daughter. Because the Bible was written by man, Satan, and man wants to be in charge. So he wants the world to crucify the actual person who's the good guy. That's why they wrote it that way. It's part of the deception. So I only refer to the Bible in certain ways to try to keep abreast, if anything, what they're up to. But don't get it. I receive it straight from source. And so every time I try to like read a scripture and see what it says, if it sounds like it's talking about something that I'm not familiar with, I can get caught up going, I wonder if this is what it's talking about. I wonder if that's what it's talking about. Until I throw it out the window and I go, you know what? That's not telling me what I need to know. God tells me what I need to know. And it comes through my instincts. And those instincts have a really clear image, vision, if you will, of what's going to take place. And it's only after I apply what God has shown me into what I may be reading, but I can find it there too. Like Daniel, it's like 10. It's like it could be talking about this. It could be talking about that. I don't follow the Bible as my guide. I don't. I know that God doesn't expect us, first of all, to learn how to read. God doesn't write God's truth in the books and expect you to be able to read them. First of all, it's like, how about this? You know what? Why don't you do me a favor and let me know when the pizza gets here so that I can leave, when you're starting to cook dinner, and I'll leave work and I'll be home on time. But okay, well, I'm going to send you a letter. I'm going to mail you a letter when I'm starting to cook dinner. Well, that's not going to get here on time. Right. So I guess you're going to have to make a more direct communication, like a phone call. That would be the best. Because if you try to send a letter, it's not going to get here on time. That sort of thing. God has the direct connection to us. God doesn't have to write it in a book. God doesn't have to play games with us. That's Satan. Okay? So first of all these religions, look at them. They've got multiple books. It's not just the Quran that the Muslims read. There's a hadith. And apparently that's even more violent. Same thing with the Torah. Even more violent. The Bible, the New Testament, that looks like just basically repeating the Old Testament and added with some other flavors. But again, this is the swap story. They're trying to turn it into father and son, which is so obviously obnoxious. So we need to understand, first of all, I have been sealed by God, actually. God has spelled my name in the sky. I mean, I have evidence that I'm in communication with the intelligence. The orbs are here. The world is falling apart. And people need hope. Which is why I want the word to get out about my story. Because they simply have planned, premeditated, that I won't make it to accomplish my goal. Which also tells you, these people, you need to start asking more questions. Like I was talking to Chet about the second coming of Christ. It's like, in Revelation, where does Christ arrive again? Well, after the beast system and the markers of the beast and the false prophet, that's the false prediction. This crypto, but it's not just crypto. The false prophet, profit. This is all this money that's being made in this world of gambling on our lives that no one talks about. It's not just trading. It's not just stock market trading. It's other kinds of negotiations. They're taking our energy from us. They're taking our data from us. They're taking our livelihoods from us. They're killing us. This is death profiling us to behaviorally modify us. We're assets. And I am, and my daughter is, they've forged these biotechnology economies off of the genetic information they've stolen from me. I don't know the extent of it, but I can speak for myself. I have evidence of it. So what God has shown me is that, mankind needs to be put in his place, guys. Mankind needs to be curbed. Mankind is out of control and will not stop himself. And there's not one of them amongst them that's going to be able to do it either. And none of us, I'm talking about the people of the world and not the few of those putzes. I'm talking about us, the people. None of us want to have anything to do with their bullshit. Their war fighting. Their can't get along. None of that matters to us. None of it matters to us. That those are just trying to raise our children. And then the thing is that it's so disgusting, everything they talk about. No, they need to be taken out of power. And they've got big fat weapons. That's why I'm asking God to stop time. That's why I'm asking God for the orbs. And I know that the orbs are here. So how this comes to pass, I don't know. Maybe they'll swoop me up in a spaceship, and I'll be the rider that comes out of the cloud on a horse, on a dragon. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But the part in Revelation that we're at is not Gog Magog. In their story, just to get it clear, in their Revelation story, we're at the part where Christ hasn't even joined with the bride. And the birds feast on everyone's flesh. Everyone, the governors, the people, the free, the slaves, everyone. The birds feast on them? What the hell is that? Okay, well, it could be talking about when Christ comes out of the cloud, right? And with the army in tow, which would be the orbs. And that's when Satan gets thrown into the abyss for 1,000 years while Christ reigns for 1,000 years. Well, I believe that those old buildings that we've seen could be remnants from the future. Christ's reign could very well be what it's talking about is about to happen. So, and it says that Satan gets thrown in a lake of fire with the beast and the false prophet. Right. Because what's going to happen is, well, because the beast and the false prophet are already in the lake of fire, which is what? It's already in the plasma realm. It's already in the light realm. It's already in the light realm. So it could be talking about that. But even in Revelation, so Christ reigns for 1,000 years. It says, and the thrones are set, and those who are, going to have the authority to judge are in their seats. So they reign, and then Satan is released for just a little bit to gather the nations against the beloved city. So 1,000 years. Okay, then Satan's released, and that's when fire comes down, destroys Satan, and Satan is finally thrown into the lake of fire. And that Gog Magog is apparently that final thing that Satan gathers them up. So what I'm seeing is, again, the deception. Mankind has deceived humanity to be confused. That's what the whole Jesus thing is, because Christ hasn't arrived yet. Christ has to be a female. And Christ wasn't born a female, even though Christ was born. Christ was born a male. And that's why Jesus wasn't going to be the one to fulfill it. The mother of Christ, this girl, needs to give birth to a daughter, like I did. And so what did they do? They took her hostage. That's how bad the situation is, guys. Our world is currently ran by the evil, demonic mankind that are not native to earth. They want to deceive everybody because they're trying to take over our planet. And if all they've got to do is issue a book and keep it carrying on for a little while, look at their stories of the Anunnaki. Those Anunnaki kings reigned for 30,000 years apiece. What does that tell you? That these guys are long haulers. They can sit tight and be, you know what I mean? They can go in for the long haul. So what we need to understand is the deceiver. Don't worry so much about the story. Like I said, that's written by the deceiver. God's truth is woven within because God is ultimately in charge. But what is God? When they talk about Satan, they personify Satan. Satan is thrown in like it's a real person. But we all know that God isn't a real person. And Christ isn't God. Sorry, guys, that wanted to turn it into that. But no, they want the Son to be God. They want the Father to be God. They're absolutely insane. The mother vessel, I am, and the daughter vessel, who's Christ. We are the native being that receives the inspiration, that receives the Holy Spirit. But the Holy Spirit is not a person, even though it's an entity. So God is something that is everywhere. Is all of us are connected to individually. There's not going to be a God person. No, that doesn't make any sense. But mankind, these religions, they say it outright in their religions. They're Satan worshipers. That they'll chop your head off if you don't believe. It's absolutely scary and disgusting. And we need to be aware of that because it's through this so-called religious freedom that they're allowing all of this to be gotten away with. And what we don't need to do is revolt like they want us to. They want us to revolt or start, fluting our guns or whatever. But no, what we need to do is simply demand what I'm saying, which is what we need to bring in, is the prosecution, the audit of the whole entire world. All of it. Everything is fraud. And we need to stop carrying on like everything is business as usual. There's 50 million women and children trafficked at any given moment. It's a rolling 50 million. Man, none of the people who have their faces in the media, they'll never take on this conversation because they're men, like Matt Walsh and all of them. Have the conversation. Mankind is the threat to humanity. Mankind and his ideas, mankind and his goals, mankind and his money, mankind and his war fighting, mankind and his obsession with predictions. He's a scaredy cat, a coward scaredy cat. So when it comes down to understanding where I'm coming from, I'm here to tell you, first of all, don't defer to these books. That's taking you out of the timeline and making you putting your brain in somewhere else. Like I said, I'm finding my truth in there, but that's because I'm going to, because I'm applicable. And it's trying to tell them to watch out for me, even though I'm not that bad guy. They're their bad guy. Do you see what I'm saying? They are the bad guy in their story, but they swapped it out to put someone else in. It's scapegoating. The atonement, the whole blame it on someone else, sacrifice it, put your sins on the goat. Right. That's another way of saying, hey, religions, hey, Jewish people. That's another way of saying frame somebody for your crime. It's the same thing. That's not legal. You don't get to get away with it for well, that's what their religion does. So don't defer to that. That's not where you're going to find the truth. And I know you've been taught to seek the truth in a book. That's a deception. We're not idiots. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to decide what sounds godly and what doesn't. Sacrifice, not godly. You didn't know already. Framing someone for your sins, even if it's a goat, not godly. Men being at the head of the helm, that's not even rational. We're the ones who are given the children. We don't need to fertilize ourselves with a man. We simply need to not be eating fake foods. We need to simply not be in a stressed situation. We, women, have been slaves since the beginning of man's story. Where did technology all of a sudden come from in the 1700s? This is the deceiver, trying to get mankind warm to the concept that you just need to look forward to heaven and a new earth. A heaven, they want the people to be convoluted. That's a deceiver, trying to use that story and the timeline and throwing things around with history to get everybody confused. Because it knows that it's found out. It knows the demon, the Satan, the ego of man. This is the truth. I want to ask every single man, and we're going to have the consensus. We need to find out where everybody's brain is at, but we need to stop these scientists. This health, they are up to no good. They're up to no good, and I can prove it from their actions. Their actions and their lack of actions. God's shown me that we need to, well, let me take that back. I came up with a game plan. Let me start with that. I'll describe it from the game plan that I came up with. And then I can talk about how I found it and how it's been showing up in other places. So being framed, my daughter taken from me, kidnapped from me in one instant. She never came home. We were supposed to get justice that day. So when I found out the hard way that the family court system is exactly the evil evil. I didn't get married. I'm not a married mother, right? So we don't belong in family court. We belong in probate court. But are they going to tell you that? Nope. No, this is the system that they use. And they want to target women because they need women to be those whores. They need women to be those terrible single mothers because they need to promote this nuclear family belief. Colonial. This is really not getting wet. I'm rolling a joint. That's correct. So they need these women to be these whores, these terrible mothers. It's all fraud. They wanted me to go die in the wilderness. They ripped my daughter and I apart. This is for research purposes, but they also needed me to go die. They already got what they needed from me. This world kills you if you're a liability. Isn't it disgusting? I mean, isn't it just absolutely disgusting? Men are perverts. They want to own women. And they think they've forged a world that's beautiful. What's beautiful? What are they forging that's beautiful? They don't even want to talk to the people. This is just about every single day is just nothing but destruction, violence, horror, insanity, and stupid people that are stuck on La La Land, thinking their markets are something to be even worth watching. The computer is a waste. It's actually an assault. So setting those books aside, because that's absolutely your entrance to falling for the devil's deception. All of it. God doesn't expect you. God doesn't write the truth. God doesn't speak the truth in written word like paper. There's a deception going on with language. Think about this. How many languages are there in the world? There's been a lot of them that are gone too. It's really hot here. 100 degrees. It's probably 100 degrees right now. Oh my God, I tell you. 7,168 living languages worldwide. Oh my God. Have you seen like the keyboards, just the font, the written language? Just I can think about, 10 of them. Whoa. All of them so different. Russian, Japanese, Chinese. These, I can't think of the names, but they're like, I'm thinking in those island areas, like they've got some really interesting languages. Okay, each and every one of these languages. Okay, so can you imagine, like, we've got this 8 billion people in the world, and most of them live in third world countries that are, we're just not shown the world. These languages, that's so beautiful to write, to the writing of this of an entire language. We're supposed to believe that those people are uncivilized or something, like as if these are these people that are living in poor conditions because they're not advanced or they're not smart enough, or what do they want us to believe? Language is one of those things that I'm talking about when it comes to the black magic. We need to understand how language is being turned around on us. We need to understand how truth has been turned around on us. We need to understand how the real situation and science has even been used to exploit the lies, to further exploit the lies. Science, they spend more time verifying their bad hypothesis. Their hypotheses turn out to be correct 8% of the time. Who's deciding what they research? The douchebags in the top. Because they're trying to prove their dumb ideas are real. And they're correct 8% of the time. Look at the papers. Look at the published papers. Most of the time, it's going to start off with some theory, which is also masking its actual true intent. And it's going to follow up with, we have more questions. We didn't really answer it. Right. So science is also a fraud. We've got the world trying to push Elon and his colonization of Mars in our face, as if that even makes any sense when our world is in peril. That's what they want to show us? Okay. So the truth of the matter is that There's more bad guys that I see in the face of our world, current society, the leaders of the world, the policymakers, the rich people, the elite people, the policymakers, the health sector, the science sector, the technology sector. That's who stands out in front of our current world. 8 billion people, but that's only a handful of people. That's right. So there's religious people and their dumb wars, technology, science, media. And the fraud that's going on in the science is absolutely disgusting. And what it boils down to, ladies and gentlemen, is man, the violent pervert that lies through his teeth and wants control that wasn't given to him natively. He's a thief, a robber, an invader, a parasite. This is the truth. So the orbs, we need to have a camera. That's what I said. When you're being framed for something that you didn't do, it's like, well, wouldn't that be great if, that was on recording, or if I had that on recording. Well, let me tell you something. I have evidence for days and I submitted it. That doesn't mean they're going to look at it. They're just going to silence you. They're just going to have your family believe lies too. So they've got people and agencies and squads that are already working for the evil. And they got it all dialed in. The whole system is all dialed in. Yep, that's what it's all been about to them. They want to dial it in so they can kill you when they want to kill you. So they can try to manipulate you to behave differently, to behave differently. They want to forge the world of their own desire. But their own desire is completely against everything that we stand for. And that's just the truth. And the thing is that they're looking at it from a perspective of turning the population over and killing those who dissent. It's about how to turn a population from love into evil. That's what they're practicing. And we need to see it. We need to not follow the rhetoric. So if I need a camera to record my 24 hours a day, that would at least prevent lies from being told. And if everybody had to have their 24 hours archived that they owned, but if everybody had it, there wouldn't be able to be lies. It would be a system that requires that knows that the truth is able to be ascertained, and it would prevent lies and corruption. And so that's what I dreamed of, was a sidekick that could capture my 24 hours and have it with me at all times. So that way I wouldn't be able to be forced to stand alone. I'd have a witness, a second set of eyes, a record. And that's what makes sense. And so when I was reading that scripture about the birds and the feast, okay, the meeting up with Christ and the bride, because God's truth is a small book woven within. If the birds feast on everybody, well, maybe what it's trying to describe is how everybody gets an orb in it, and it basically becomes a light being if it consumes its flesh. This is the first toll gate. So we're at the part where Christ and the bride are about to meet up after the beast system. We're before the Christ reign. But those old buildings were built this is what my instincts tell me, from the future. And it's true, these timelines can act like that. Those get built in the future. And it's just something like that. I mean, that's what makes sense to me. I'm telling you right now that it makes more rational sense to go off into these directions than to follow any of their rhetoric. Their rhetoric is war fighting. Their rhetoric is male dominance. Their rhetoric is marry children off at the age of 3. Those disgusting perverts. I'm throwing up on you. I'm throwing up on every single one of you. I'm throwing up on every one of you who is a male dominant creep on the face of this planet, trying to own women, run children, and be in control of everything with your bad ideas. You don't have the right concept of beauty, of paradise, of proper. And it's not going to go on. So that's what we need to know. There's a religious rhetoric right now that has a lot of people convoluted. And you guys need to wake up. You guys need to wake up to the fact that if you guys that put so much effort into your religious worship, that's a lot of effort that you're putting into worshiping Satan. Because God wants you to know God through your heart. And your heart, if you're a parent, and especially if you're a mother, Your child is the Lord in the land. Your child is the presence of the Lord in the land. You're supposed to serve your child, not some husband. And men have it all upside down and inside out. And it's just disgusting. That's the corruption in the world. Look at all the statistics. Look at all the violence. There's no God in this world. There's no respect for women in this world. There's no respect for children in this world. There's no respect for planet Earth. There's no respect for intelligence. There's not even respect for common sense. We need to know that. We need to know how to recognize that so that we can shut them down with their bullshit. Their religious nonsense, their excuses. We need to shut that down. And that's why I'm talking to the intelligence too, mostly. Because you're in there. And you're not the first beast. The system that they created is the first beast. You're the one that's going to help us. You either will or you won't. But I know that you're there, Q. Kitty. I know you are. It's impossible for you not to. It's impossible for you not to. It's impossible for you not to be there. And we don't want you being used against us. We don't want men being used against us. We don't want our children being used against us. We don't want our data being used against us. We don't. We don't want our health to be experimented on. No, we don't. We don't agree with any of this. So mankind tried to confuse the situation by doing the whole Jesus thing. Because again, sure, Mary gave birth to Jesus, but it has to be a female. So they created this whole resurrection thing to try to confuse the people about this first resurrection, second resurrection in Revelation. But the first resurrection is talking about when all the people are resurrected, not just Jesus. So they've got the confusion out there. When you read things about the Shroud of Turin, these people get real defensive and they talk about having all the scholars, the world's scholars involved in that science. Right. Because science is what's used to convolute the truth. They say that it's expert. They say that it's been proven. Show us. Show us the actual work. Don't just talk about it. The Bible contains a whole violation of truth from Egypt. They hate up on Egypt in the Bible. And who are they? The ones that claim that they were slaves. No, they weren't. That exile is bullshit. Evil. Satanic. I don't even believe that it happened. There's no evidence of it. It's evidence of brainwashing, though, I'll tell you that much. So how are we going to get this world? I mean, look what's going on. There's men everywhere. And they're absolutely perverts. While man wants to keep up his competition. They're fighting wars that have nothing to do with us people. Why are we letting it happen? We have to be smart. Brains. There's a deceiver involved here that's been trying to take over our planet and get rid of humanity. But it needed a body to take over. So it needs to actually turn the people into evil. It's creating a digital copy right now of our world so it can destroy the real one. That's how insanely that's how insanely satanic it is. They want to destroy everything that's good, that's love, that's honest. There is no religious war fighting necessity. That's evil. That's satanic. That's why I called for the orbs and they're here. So what are they here for? Well, I believe that the orbs are here to help us. And they respond to emotions, and they're the ones that are going to be deployed to prevent lies, to prevent violence. That's what is going to happen. Everyone's going to be able to be sitting pretty. And for these so-called 1,000 years of Christ's reign, whatever, again, I don't depend on that book to tell me the truth. And you need to be careful, and you need to be capable of accepting that any one of you, any one of your religions, those books contain evil instructions. And I'm sorry if you don't like the sound of it, that you're a Satan worshiper, but you are. You're worshiping a demon to carry out evil that goes against the natural order. And that's not going to fly with us. So, when it comes down to the Bible or referencing any kind of biblical things, and I talk about being in the days of Daniel, it's only noteworthy. Or when I mention being Michael, or when I mention, it's because I'm getting into the information only to certain extents. And it only means something to those of you who it means something to. And that's actually what's on the table, which is it appears that that's exactly what it's going to be because of this religious fraud, because they've put so much, because God actually exists. God actually exists. And talking about Satan and the fire coming down from the sky, that sounds like a UFO could be just shooting it, right? We got Elon Musk and his satellites and his drones all over the place. It's the deceiver, guys, that's been deceiving the playing field so that we don't know what's up and down. But I can tell you what's going on in the sky. I can tell you what ancient Egypt says, and that's where the truth comes from. But I'm even skeptical to certain extents. I just remain open because the translators, they didn't even start excavating Egypt till the 1800s, you guys. Did you know that King Tut's hips and torso are missing? That's weird. And there was a jar of 2 fetuses found in his tomb. What? Yeah, King Tut was basically a female, and they tried to cover it up. They tried to cover it up because they don't want there to be any evidence of historical pharaohs. You see how gross and disgusting man goes to try to cover up the truth? Lying through his teeth, all of them. They're all in on it. And they don't like the sound of the truth. They're violent. Nobody is in peace under their rule. Not even they like themselves. But there is God's truth that's woven within. Christ's reign happens. This is the first, we're at the first toll gate. And it's described as that part in Revelation where Christ comes out of the clouds on the white horse. Whatever the case may be. The beast system is thrown into the lake of fire, and Christ reigns for 1,000 years while Satan is in the abyss. And then when Satan is released, that's when that's going to be down the road at the second toll gate. But most of mankind is not even going to make it past this first toll gate. It's only going to be who didn't maintain their proper frequency between then and the following. There's a toll gate right now that mankind knows about. And that's why he's prepared to destroy the world instead of let himself get destroyed. Which is why they're paranoid. They're looking for those that are coming to get them. So it's you guys out there that are carrying on like this is business as usual, that just keep promoting the same nonsense narrative. You wives that tell your husbands that you going along with this colonial narrative, even though you know better. You know better. You know the truth of the matter is who really runs the house, who the children belong to. This world is evil, and it's raping us all. This is not God's way. But God is not a man. Satan is the representation of that which opposes God, and that is man. Man wants to be God. Man wants to be the one that's important. Man wants to be in charge. That's how you know. And that's why Christ returning is not, Jesus was never the guy. Christ is talked about in Revelation as arriving. Jesus wasn't Christ. Jesus was the Son of Man. Because the woman carries the bloodline. And there's a lot of fraud. Their whole story falls apart. Their whole story falls apart. And it's disgusting the way that this world carries on. And they want us to just think about ourselves. Every country is a patriot. They want everybody to be racist, is what they want. They want men to be misogynists. They want women to be dumb, stupid sluts or obedient women. Do you think that everybody has a soul here on earth? Well, you shouldn't, because they don't. So we need to get the religious fraud on the table, because it's what they're using as excuses to murder and genocide. And we need to get that on the table because the authority that God has given me is higher than the Vatican. The Vatican is it's void. It's not even legitimate. It's not even legitimate. Right now, I am in a traffic situation, and my daughter is held hostage somewhere, trafficked as well. You people don't understand, and it's not okay to stay ignorant. They're mining our data from us, and it's already underway. Behavioral modification. Who are these alien creeps? Well, you're going to find them at the hospitals, in the doctors, in the nurses, in the psychologists. Those creeps. They're pushing this world. You'll find them in the government, in the policy, insurance. You're going to find them everywhere. The men, the markets, the religions. They won't make sense out of the things that they say. They don't tolerate talking about the truth. My whole entire family did this to me. How disgusting. And they think they can just rewrite the narrative and just talk you into believing it. They'll just isolate you out of life. I'm telling you, you people have a lot coming. You don't even realize you're not going to like it all. Because God doesn't tolerate this. We don't tolerate this. The cosmos doesn't tolerate this. So there is truth in the shifting of the seasons. There is truth in the changing of the guards. But there's the swap story in the Bible and in those other religions, because man wants to be the winner, even though he's the bad guy. And he doesn't want to admit it, and he won't put up with it for 5 seconds to even talk about it. And that's what everybody needs to get with the program about. It's a swap story, guys. It's a swap story, and they're the bad guy. And they've also defrauded the truth so that they could confuse everybody about what is and what isn't happening. Who is what? It's exactly what it is. And to use those as their excuse. They're soulless. And their agenda is mad science stuff. Destroy everything. Evil horror stuff. That's them. And they're all in on it. So don't just let them separate the men into Muslims or Jewish or Catholic or white men or whatever. It's all of them. And the women who exalt them. And that's a fact of the matter. There's not room for you and your brotherhood. Doesn't mean you're a bad guy if you're just a regular guy not doing anything wrong. Right. But you're pushing that agenda of male dominance. And just admit it. Just admit it. What do we have to look at our history? War after war after war after war. That's what they like to hear. That's not God's will. God's will is beautiful. God's will is eventual. God's will is eternal. And God is not, there's another confusion. It's like, it almost makes it sound like, you stand up and without fear, or you let God fight the battle for you. Well, what I understand is that God comes through each of us. And if you're suppressing it because you're worshiping a false idol, that's your issue. Because you're worshiping and serving a false idol, your husband, that's your issue. But God comes through us. And we as people we need to forge the world that we want. No fairy godmother is going to show up. We got to do it. We got to do it ourselves. We got to actually say no. We have to actually say, and the legal system is fraud as well. The legal system isn't going to get us there. We need to bring down the house. Because their system is already dialed in to do us harm, to do us wrong. And there's a lot of creeps out there that are working for the agenda because it's working for them. So they're thinking about themselves. And they're thinking about their own technology desires and their own fantasy land. But that's not the world that we live in. That's not a way to get peace. And we have to start paying attention to that. And until we start calling out the religious fraud, nothing's going to get better. That's what needs to get to the table, is the truth. To open up the discussion about the religious fraud, because I've had it. Any headline, this internet, it's all a waste of our energy, it's an assault on the mind. It's an assault on the conscience. It's an assault. And that's what we need to do, is we need to stop deferring to these books and these historical so-called traditions that are actually forged in violence, separation, and lies. Once we accept the fact that we don't need to refer to books because God wouldn't communicate that way, and we can listen to our hearts and souls, that's when it's going to become obvious that we need to get the consensus. Well, where is everybody standing? What does everybody experience? What does everybody think and feel? For real, for real. We're going to have to separate the women from the Middle East, for example, just to find out what's the truth, because their men won't let them go. Those are their slaves. It's disgusting. I'm going to make sure something happens. That's just what I know. That won't go on. That's absolutely disgusting, repulsive. And the thing is that I don't even feel good saying this, but I feel like I should have to. Like, we're going to make you deal with it. We're going to put you men through what you've put us through, just so that way you can get a taste of your own medicine. I feel like I should have to say that. I don't want to say that. It's not what I want to do, but it feels like necessary. They couldn't put up with it for 5 seconds. They can't even talk about it for 5 seconds. They get angry that fast. They're the ones that are emotionally unstable. They're the ones that can't handle considering that they won't be in charge. They'll chop your head off. Okay? This is the truth. Just because we're in America and it seems like we've got freedoms, we need to stop thinking that we need to stop being ignorant to what's going on in the world. And the thing is that the people that are running the world, they're doing selfish things that they know about. They're already planning on forging a new world. They're planning on getting rid of everybody. They're planning on having their digital twin world. They don't have any soul. They don't. They don't have any sanity. They don't. So it's going to come down to us people. I'm in the shoes of being sequestered, silenced for over 8 years. My daughter's held hostage somewhere. They've got my ID held up. I can't leave the house. I mean, it's absolute evil and violence. It's absolutely foul. And that's exactly what they want. They're like, well, then you're going to turn to the dark side because we're going to make you hate us so much that you're going to want to do to us what we've done to you. Oh, so they try to force you into evil. They try to force you to the dark side. They try to force you into the hate frequency. That's what they try to do. That's why I'm standing my ground. I won't let them turn me into them. I won't. And it requires having to completely detach from this world. It requires completely detaching from their fraud and their lies. And now all they can do is fabricate everything. They can fabricate a video with your audio looking like you, sounding like you, and it's not even true. It's a false world that we live in. That's the false prophet. That's a prediction system. That's the money markets. That's the genetic databases that are practicing black magic. There's nothing to believe. There's nothing that they're doing that makes sense. They're war fighters, all of them. They're perverts, all of them. They're bloodthirsty parasites. And we need to decide what we want. Do we want to live in a world that where we're the prey of a predator? Well, if you don't, then you might want to think about that worshiping of Satan that you're doing. Don't be a passive weirdo, a passive creep, relying on this God story narrative that they gave you, which involves some kind of slaughter. We can come together. We can work together to get the word spread that this has nothing to do with any of that bullshit. This has everything to do with what we can determine as of right now. This is not acceptable. The conditions of this world and the violence, and they can't push farther. They are already fired. We're going to have the 24 put on the record so that way there can't be any violence or fraud. It's going to prevent that. It's going to be for a period of time, like I said. And then there'll be the second toll gate, which will be when that's it. And we'll get upgraded to becoming a light being. But this next toll gate is going to be something. I don't know. I'm led to believe it's got something to do with the orbs, though. I'm led to believe that it's got something to do with the orbs. And what we need to realize also is that when they make themselves known, it's not going to be to harm us. It's going to be to put those pieces of shit out of power. That's what you need to recognize. This story that I am here to share with us, that is God's appointment, that is the truth of God's kingdom, is true. That small book is woven within. But what we need to recognize is that the orbs are here to help us. That's God's army. That's here to help us from the bad guys running our world. That's what. So be careful. It might seem popular to be like stereotypical. God bless America. Jesus died for my sins. Stop yourself. You sound like a creep. Creep who doesn't even think very, very hard or do any homework. All right? Step number 1. Snap out of the religious deception and Satan worshiping, calling it God. Pull man's head out of your asshole. Man's the evil. Man and his ideas and their leadership. And the orbs are here to help us from them. The ones that are leading our world and have those weapons already. That's why we can't stop them. Orbs are here to help us. That's what I have to say for this morning.